Hey all, so welcome to my channel. Um, I should be live streaming, but choosing just not to live stream in this case. So yesterday, Super Bowl. I think in a couple of my early videos, I did mention I wasn't sure who was going to win. Not more of who was going to win, but my feeling was it was going to be Kansas City. More so because the fact is like whenever they're going as the underdog role, they seem to deliver and win because of that fact of like they feel they're not the underdog. They're supposed to be because they're last year's champs. They shouldn't be the underdog. So that was the case. I mean, let's be honest. It wasn't a case where everyone's going to say it's like, "Whoa, San Francisco gave them the game." Like San Francisco made mistakes. They both made mistakes. Both Kansas City and San Francisco made mistakes in the game itself. But this is a case where it's a matter of like who capitalized on those mistakes. And it showed, I mean, in this situation, Mahomes basically showed how similar he is to Tom Brady in the aspect of like, if you leave them enough time, they'll score. And that's what happened basically. In reality, what happened though is the situation in the fourth quarter, last drive, they should have gotten the touchdown. It should never have gone into overtime. They should have gotten that touchdown. The fact that Travis Kelsey was basically, you could see that he was being double teamed. So he was San Francisco had a good game plan, making him a non-factor. The problem was like all the other players at that point. Now you could go on the opposite spectrum of like, well, with the 49ers, well, let's put it this way: you had Purdy, you had Kittle, and you had McCaffrey, and the fact that Kittle was doing decent enough, and McCaffrey was like providing an MVP Super Bowl performance. It came down to Purdy. Um, Purdy was less error prone in this situation. At least he didn't throw out any interceptions, give any turnovers. But I think it was a case of like when he gets pressured enough to the point where like he's got to get rushed, you'll see that he can almost force a turnover. Fortunately, in this case, he didn't. But in reality, is everyone's going to say is like, well, still a game manager, and I forgot the dude's name. Jim Nance basically is like, well, not a game manager now, definitely an executive manager. I don't know if that's the case. Time will only tell. I think we got to wait another more couple more years to see how this works out with them because yeah, he went against a Kansas City defense, which was not as strong as the Philadelphia Eagles defense, or for that matter, the Detroit Lions defense. They're not the same, but it's a case where I don't think the 49ers should have been in the Super Bowl more so because, again, I think Detroit pretty much handed them the NFC Championship. If it was Detroit versus Kansas City, this would be an interesting game to see. I don't think for the 49ers capitalized on it. Now, let's come back to one thing for a second though. It's a case where at least in this case Chase Young and Nick Bosa basically finally showed up. They showed up at the right time and they were the like you weren't seeing as many blitzes to Mahomes. Nick and Chase were pretty much pressuring Mahomes to the point where like these two alone were getting to him. And so it's one of those things where they showed up at the right time to the point where like, you could see Mahomes was like getting like frazzled. Kelsey was getting, like the entire team was like, what the hell's going on? Like, Mahomes had to like scramble and then get rid of the ball. And the secondary for his 49ers defense was doing really well. So the defense was doing really well. I think what happened in the overtime was a case where like they were just tired. And the fact is like, let's not forget injuries as well too affected them a little bit as well too. I mean, I forgot the guy's name that got injured. I'm drawing a blank now, but when he had to be carted away, I think not San Francisco, Kansas City saw that uh, weakness and started capitalizing on it at that point. But in reality, I think it was more of a case where like the 49ers defense was just plumb out tired. And the fact is like I think they should have gotten a touchdown on that last drive to get. I mean, I don't know why you'd want to take the ball when you should defer it in the coin flip, especially in overtime, because like if you're fourth and whatever, you have no choice but to fourth and them for whatever it is. You know what? If they were down fourth and what six, if they'd probably gone for it, they probably could have scored the touchdown, but they didn't. So it's one of those things where like now it was dependent, and that's why like with the Chiefs, they were in two fourth down situations. They were able to capitalize them because why? Because the fact is like they had no choice but to. So it's, I mean, honestly, is this a dynasty for the Chiefs? Maybe, maybe not. Only time will tell. Let's see what happens the next year and the year after, the next season, the next season afterwards. What happens with the Chiefs? Because Kelsey and Mahomes can only do so much because like defense is still going to play a big factor. Jones, let's say to put it this way, he did really well. And the other dude, I forgot his name now. My mind's drawing a blank on players' names for some reason. But in any case, they did really well as well too. So it'll be interesting to see how Kansas City shores up their defense and also gets another good wide receiver. San Francisco wide Jennings turns out is really good. I think he's going to be a star. Give it a couple more years, he'll be a star. He'll be the new, not Jerry Rice. There's no one that's going to replace Jerry Rice. He'll probably be the new Terrell Owens. No, I don't want to say Terrell Owens. That's the wrong thing to say. Actually, I don't want to say Randy Moss either, because those guys were arrogantly good. But they were arrogant, but they knew they were good. Or Keyshawn Johnson, for that matter. You know what? He does remind me. Jennings does remind me a little bit of Keyshawn. So, given another season or two, and I think Jennings becomes becomes a Keyshawn Johnson basically, to the point where like he'll probably, yeah, he'll definitely be. Actually, you know what? He reminds me a little bit more of Chad Johnson or Chad Ochocinco, basically. He might be that, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, the fact of the matter is this was his coming out game, the Super Bowl. This is Jennings' super coming out game. He is definitely going to propel forward into the next level. Purdy, I think this was his time to shine, but he didn't shine. I think it was the system. I mean, you have to be a good game manager. I think it was the system itself, and I think that's the reason why. I mean, yeah, granted, like, Darno and Darno didn't do well in this system, but I think once Darno gets accustomed to it, he probably would do really well. Honestly, if Kirk Cousins were to come into this system, I think probably the 49ers would win this game. They would have won this game. Now, the real question comes down to is next season. The way the Rams were playing, I mean, if Stafford does retire, then don't look for the Rams to be in there. But it's definitely going to come down to the 49ers, Detroit, if Detroit maintains their their roster, and San Francisco, Detroit, Philadelphia most likely as well too. But look for Green Bay. Those are probably going to be the top four teams we're going to see. Green Bay is definitely up there. The way Jordan Love is playing. On the AFC side, it's definitely going to be either Baltimore, Kansas City, or Buffalo in this case. I mean, honestly, I think Miami did really well, but unless they could bolster up their defense, it's not going to work out really well because offense can get you those points, but you need that defense to hold off the team because like if you can't score and they start scoring, it's a problem, and you got to keep up with whatever team that scores. So I think in this situation, Miami has to bolster up their defense, specifically the secondary, to become a major player. But anyways, I'll leave it at that. If you like my channel, like my video, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. If you like my channel, like my videos. Also, I do read my comments and I do respond to them. As you've seen, if you've seen some of my things, some of my videos, and you've seen comments, and I do respond to them specifically. With when it relates to tech stuff as well too. But I do respond. Let me know your thoughts. Who do you think is going to be next year's top teams? Basically, I mean, in this situation, do you think this is a case where San Francisco deserves to have been in the Super Bowl? I mean, they definitely provided otherwise. I mean, like the fact that Chase and Bosa basically showed up, I think they single-handedly kept the Chiefs into a low scoring game, quite honestly. If not for them, I think the Chiefs would have like rolled over the 49ers, because it seems like the 49ers defense without those two, they were going to be picked apart. Put it that way. If these two did not pressure Mahomes, they're going to be picked apart. And the fact is like Purdy, as you saw, I mean, he was a good game manager, but he's not that next level quarterback. So let's see what happens next season, anyways. But anyways, let me know your thoughts. And of course, if if you see my videos, you know I'm a Giants fan. Not a fan of Daniel Jones, and people will say I'm hating on Daniel Jones. I'll say constantly, yes, he's not your quarterback of the future. He's more of a backup QB more than anything else. He's just a backup QB. He's nothing more than that. So honestly, if I'm the Giants, drop him, cut him, whatever it is, find someone. Hopefully, you could find another Justin Herbert out there. Maybe 2 years down the line. Hopefully, you pray for it. But in reality, I doubt that's not going to happen. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and of course, always unrehearsed. Until next time.